Giovanni specialized in nougat, but since that confection uses only the egg whites, he decided to do something with the yolks. Hello, and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I'm exploring my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. In researching all these bottles, I've realized that certain ingredients get combined with alcohol repeatedly, all through time, all over the world. Cherries, as in bottle 47, Polmos Wisniak. Coffee, as I attempted to document the history of in bottle 66, Coloma. But I would not have expected that one of those just add alcohol ingredients would be eggs. In that, I would be wrong. Bottle number 80 is Morandini Morovo, an egg-based liqueur from Italy. I'd heard of egg liqueurs in the past. Dutch advocaat is perhaps the best known, although I've never tried it. I have drunk plenty of real eggnog, including the aged kind that you let sit for at least a month before drinking. But there's also German eirlikör and Polish ajerknonkiak and Latin American rompope. While there may have been some cross-pollination of the idea from place to place, in many cases it seems to have just been parallel evolution, with each country or brand having its own origin story. And so it is with Italy. There is a category you could call liqueur alla ovo, and those words appear on my tiny bottle, but the more common generic term for egg liqueur in Italy seems to be VOV, which reflects the genericization of what was once the most popular brand from the company that commercialized it. As a brand, VOV was created in 1845 by a pastry chef named Giovanni Battista Pezzil in Padua, Italy. Giovanni specialized in nougat, but since that confection uses only the egg whites, he decided to do something with the yolks. That something was to make a commercial version of Zabbaglione that was drinkable like a liqueur. Zabbaglione is an Italian dessert of eggs cooked with sugar and Marsala wine. It's usually a creamy concoction you eat with a spoon, but the name is used interchangeably with the beverage style and often translated to English as eggnog in that context. The first recipe for it was published around the 1460s in a cookery book called Cuoco Napolitano. Now, that hasn't stopped people from claiming it was invented by and named after various people in various places through the 1500s. If there's one thing I've learned from my tiny bottles, it's that you should never let facts get in the way of a good origin story. And given the fact that there are so many egg and alcohol combinations, it's entirely possible it was invented in the region many times. In the case of VOV, Giovanni's liqueur version of the recipe became very popular and was even awarded the seal of approval of the ruling Austrian Empire. It was marketed, like so many things in those days, as a kind of health tonic. During World War II, a version of it containing chocolate was even provided to Italian troops as VAV, short for Vino Alimento Vigoroso. Of course, anytime you have something that popular, and especially something with a simple recipe, you are going to get competitors. VOV's first main competitor was Zabov, which was created in 1946. They pitched themselves as a new kind of egg liqueur with a slightly lower ABV, 15% instead of 18%, and with brandy used as the alcohol rather than Marsala wine. The 1960s and 70s saw the peak of VOV's popularity, and by then there were dozens of competitors on the market. Presumably, this tiny bottle of Morandini Morovo was one of them. Here's a translation of its description from another bottle I found online. Exquisite liqueur made by our laboratory exclusively from milk, alcohol, sugar, egg, cream, and natural aromas. Ingredient-wise, this puts it closer to the Zabov camp, since that product also contained dairy, where VOV did not, although Morovo is closer to VOV in alcohol strength. By the 1980s, VOV's sales were declining. Tastes were changing, and not only were there all these competitors, but it was all just called VOV, whether it was your mom's homemade version or some other brand. This brings to mind bottle number 10, Di Serono, which stopped calling itself Amaretto for similar reasons. Eventually, Zabov came to top VOV in sales, and both mostly only live on in Italian ski resorts, where they're used to make a hot drink called a bombardino. As for my tiny bottle, when I talked about my other bottle from Morandini, bottle 24, Morandini Maraschino, I'd guessed 1980s for it based on its red plastic cap, since a source on a mini collectors group online said they were most common in the 80s. But I did find a mini bottle of VOV from 1974, and it has this style of cap, so mine could go back that far. The thing I know for sure is that I'm never going to be popping this red plastic cap. Unlike my clumpy bottles of cream liqueur, the liquid in this bottle is still liquid, but it's also really disgusting looking. So nope, no thanks, never gonna go there. Are you an egg liqueur fan? Should I be tracking down a modern bottle of VOV or Zabov to see what I'm missing? Tell me all about it in the comments below and like and subscribe while you're there. You can also leave comments on @mytinybottles on social media or at my website, mytinybottles.com, or head over to my Patreon where I've got regular bonus content for both free and paid supporters. Cheers!